What's going on, friends and family? Thanks so much for tuning in for Friday's episode of Chemical Guys Detail Garage. The owner of this BMW i3 brought it into the shop because she just got it back from the dealership where they gave it a detail, and now the hood has scratches on it, there's swirls. They dressed the plastics, but there are some areas that they missed, so we're going to go over it, giving it the proper treatment to give it the best overall look. And to do that, what we're going to do is start by wiping it down using Swift Wipe, which is a waterless wash. Now, we could foam this car, but we're trying to give it the easiest to do process. So shake up the bottle, and this is going to gently remove the light dust that's on the vehicle because it was already washed. And now we're just going to use our clean microfiber towel, and a pro tip is to also dampen the towel. This way any abrasive particles aren't being dragged across the surface, scratching it. And also using linear motions is going to prevent any kind of swirls. And as I'm wiping, I'm also rolling the towel, so I'm creating a new edge. This way the abrasive particles of dust and road debris aren't being ground into the paintwork. And now let's flip it over and buff away any of the excess. As I'm sure you guys can tell, we're outside of the detail garage today because today is the last day of our 5-day master's course, the SDU. So if you guys are looking for any hands-on training, be sure to check that out. That's going on today. But now we're going to just wrap up our video here, or let's get underway on our video actually. But the owner told me that the car was recently washed. They polished it where now it has this light marring on there, which you'll see in some of those B-roll shots. And it also has a lot of scratches and swirls on it. But the interesting is this isn't a metal finish. This is actually a piece of plastic, which anybody that has a BMW i3, I'm sure they know. But if you didn't, this all is a plastic body. So it doesn't change the whole process of the polishing or your detailing, but you just have to be careful you're not putting too much heat on there because that could obviously warp or damage the plastic. So take that kind of precaution, but you can still use the same products and process to get the same finish as you would on a metal finish. So now we're going to go over to our bucket where I have a TORQ 15DA with a white Hex-Logic pad. This is a fine polishing pad, or more of a finishing polishing pad. We're going to attach it to our TORQ here. It's already plugged in because I can smell voltage. And we're going to be using Slick Finish, which is a cleaner wax, which many people don't know this, but there's actually a micro-abrasive in here that gently diminishes minor scratches and swirls, oxidation, light marring to reveal a fresh shine. And it's also going to leave behind a little bit of carnauba wax to give you some protection, as well as some added gloss. But with any kind of polishing, we're going to use 5 dime-sized drops, which is about the size of 1 hex. And then we're also going to spray the pad with a little bit of pad conditioner. And what this does is it helps to moisten the pad, which is also going to help reduce any kind of dusting, but it also helps to properly diminish your product that you're using, because any type of compound or polish has a certain work time, so you want to make sure that it's not burning up or drying out too quickly. This way, again, you can get the best result. So now we're going to go over to the vehicle, and I'm going to start by blotching this out. The reason for this is so that we don't have a heavy glob of product in one area which could fling as we turn the polisher on. And if you're new to polishing, there's different names for different kinds of buffers, but this would be considered a dual action or a random orbital, which means that it oscillates while also orbiting that same oscillation, so it's doing 2 actions, as opposed to a rotary, which is going to basically spin in one direction in one centralized area. Now the difference between the two is I consider this to be more like a butter knife, where a rotary is going to be more of a scalpel, where it's very precise, but it's also very dangerous if you don't have the proper experience. So it's best to have the tool that best suits you. A lot of guys who are getting new into the detailing game or looking for a polisher, this is a great way to go, using a dual action or random orbital, because it's super easy to use. It gets you the same results, just takes a little bit longer, but this is a great way to hone your skills. Also, whenever you're using any kind of polisher, you want to make sure that you're not applying too much pressure, because this could create a lot of heat, and that generation of heat will cause friction, which causes marring. And also you want to make sure that you're not leaning the pad too much to either direction. So a little tip that I tell people is to just rest your hand, whether you're left-handed or right-handed, rest your hand on the head, and also use your guiding hand on the back here, just gently grasping it, and then put it right here on the center. And what this does is it helps to keep the polish from dipping from side to side. This is something I learned from an old body shop guy. When you're using a hammer to do glancing blows, you keep it right here in the center. This keeps your hammer from sliding off to either way. So it's the same thing for the polisher. Now what we're going to do is just turn the machine on, and with the dual action you want to turn it on the vehicle or on the surface that you're polishing, so you're not flinging product all over the place, and also so you're not damaging the bearings on the inside. But if you're using a rotary, I'm sure you know by now that you spread your product out, and then with the machine already spinning, then you put it on, and then start gently spreading out your product and then bumping it up to the highest speed or the appropriate speed to do your polishing. when you're using a random orbital or a DA buffer, you want to use the speed setting 6 or the highest speed setting on the machine. This way you're properly breaking down the polish that you're using or the compound that you're using, but on a rotary, it can all depend on the OPMs or the RPMs rather to get the best results. But now, as I said, we're going to start on the lowest speed and we're going to spread this out, and on our highest speed, we're going to be breaking down the polish. And what we want to do is make sure that we're keeping the pad completely flat, watching for these lines and continually spin, which means that the polisher is doing its job. If it looks like it's not spinning or if it's vibrating, it's not polishing. And also we want to make sure that we're covering about 50% of our last pass. This way we get even removal or even refinement to get the perfect shine. All right, so now in the low speed setting, we're going to spread this out, and on the high speed setting, we're going to refine this, and I'll give you guys a little before and after, which is why I've taped it. And if you're wondering why we're not claying it, it's because the vehicle was already clayed at the dealership, and I've inspected it in a few different areas, and it looks like they did a decent job with that, even though it's marred. But the reason why it was marred is probably because they're using something too abrasive or too aggressive, but it's fine for polishing. And now we're going to move on to the actual refinement steps. So as you see, I was using the 50% cross-hatching pattern to ensure that I've removed the same amount of paint or the same amount of material as I'm working here, giving it the uniform shine. Also, a lot of questions that I get is how fast is your arm supposed to be moving? And that's about 1 inch per second when you're using a dual action polisher, which means your arm speed or how fast you're moving the polisher itself is about 1 inch per second. This way you're not creating any kind of tiger stripes, which is that looks like a hologram or it looks very hazy in certain sections, and that's because the pad is moving too fast and also yourself is moving too fast. So it takes a lot of patience and a lot of practice to get this kind of delicate procedure done, but when it's done correctly, it obviously looks really good. Now we're going to take a clean microfiber towel, using one of our green workhorse microfiber towels, and buff off any of the excess spent product. You can see the lines from the 50-50 passes. It's like cutting a lawn or mowing your grass where you overlap it so there's not anything left behind. Same thing with your paint. You want to knock down the same amount over the entire surface so it looks uniform and gives you the best overall result. And it looks really dark and really deep and black, which is what you want, especially on a dark finish. So now I'm going to take out the light to give you guys that before and after to show you the true difference that's been made here. Obviously, it's a little different polishing outside, but we're taking advantage of the cooler weather as well as that we're in the shade here. So it's fine to polish outside as long as it's not going to be too hot. So make sure that the surface of your vehicle is cool to the touch before you do anything like this. But if you guys want to check out these products, head over to our website, chemicalguys.com, or to your local detail garage. If you like today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Drop your comments down below for future videos. You guys have been doing so well with all of your kind words. I just want to say thank you so much for all of that, and we'll see you guys next time right here in the detail garage.